Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to change the oil, and I would imagine just about anything, using a fluid extractor. Fluid extractors are a lot less messy. You can suck all the oil out from the dipstick, or the check filler plug, whatever you want to call it. And I'm gonna suck all the oil out of the top and then show you guys how much is left over by actually removing the drain plug. My experience, I've changed a lot of oil with the fluid extractor, and there's a few drips left at most. But I'll go ahead and show you guys to make you feel a little bit more comfortable about it. If you have a motor with an oil filter on it, it's still a little messy because you got to take the oil filter off, and there's a few drops that come out of that, especially if the oil filter's full. But on engines without oil filters, like small mowers and push mowers, etc., it's definitely mess free. You literally just suck the old oil out, fill it back up, and you're done. And what's nice about this too, it's a lot easier to measure the oil and all this type of stuff if you're not sure how much oil is in your engine. For example, this riding mower, I just got it recently and fixed it up and got it running. I don't know the oil capacity. I tried Googling it, and there's all kinds of different capacities, so this will be nice for that. Anyways, let's get started. Here's my setup. All I've done is remove the filler cap, or the check fill plug, whatever you want to call it. And I have my fluid extractor set up here. And you do have to have an air compressor with this. The air compressor is what actually creates the vacuum. So I have my air compressor here, and when I connect it to this fitting, air will start to blow out of this. And you have airflow going through here, right? And so what that does is create a vacuum here, which is connected to this, and which is connected to this. And these fluid extractors come usually with multiple sets of tubes, different sizes for whatever it is you're doing, whether you're bleeding brakes or trying to get gear oil out, or motor oil, brake fluid, power steering fluid. I mean, anything you can think of, except for like gas. I don't think it's made for gas. I probably wouldn't do that. But any type of oil. But I always get the smallest tube that I can, or that comes with the kit anyways. And the smaller the tube you have, you can get it down this dipstick filler plug and get it down to the bottom of the engine. And once you've sucked all the oil out, you can kind of move the smaller tube around a lot easier, and it'll suck the residual out. But what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to suck everything out that this thing will get, and then that's the plug right there, the drain plug. And what I'll do to prove to you guys, or to show you guys how much oil it gets out, once I've sucked everything out, I'll take that drain plug off, and we'll see how much comes out from there. Like I said, in my experience, it's usually just a few drops, which is nice. I do want to mention, it's a good idea to get the oil warm before you start. It's anytime you change the oil, it's a good idea to do that, because all the little fine metal shavings and things that wear in the engine, when you crank your engine up and run it, all those little impurities will get mixed up in the oil, and you'll get more of those out, versus if you just let it set overnight and change it. Don't let it get so hot that it burns you or melts tubing or anything like that, but you definitely want it warm. What I do is I'll just crank an engine up and run it for like 2 or 3 minutes, just enough to get it warm, and then I'll change the oil. So you guys can see my filler cap. You can see my fluid extractor. You're gonna hear air blowing, and you're gonna hear my air compressor turn on, so it's gonna get kind of loud for a minute. I'll adjust the gain in the audio so it doesn't blow your ears out. I was just kind of giving you a warning before. So here's the tube I'm using. I'll go ahead and plug the air up. You'll hear it blowing, and then I'll stick it in there, and you guys can see the oil being sucked out. That's what it sounds like. And we'll run this tube down there. Here's the oil being sucked out. Okay, as I said before, I just got this mower and I've never done an oil change on it. Whoever worked on this thing or did the oil changes used the wrong size socket, and they've actually rounded out this drain plug pretty bad to where you can't just put a socket on it and take it off. Luckily I have crow's feet, and the right size didn't fit it, so I had to get the size down metric to get a tighter fit. I already have broke it loose, but I haven't taken it out yet. But normally you're supposed to just be able to put a socket on there, but whoever worked on it apparently didn't know what they were doing and they rounded the thing out. So don't round things out. If you don't have the right size socket, go get the right size socket, because you'll destroy stuff and make it more of a pain in the butt for you in the future or for the next person that has to work on it. But as I promised, I'm going to take this thing off and show you guys how little oil is left over. That's all that's left over. You guys saw me take the plug out just now, and there's very little. I'll let it run for a minute. Actually, I'm gonna turn my camera on and let it run for a minute just so you guys can see how little oil is left in here. That's not enough to be concerned about. I mean, like I said, I just removed the drain plug and that's all you get, so it saves a heck of a lot of mess. So I kind of sped that up. That was 5 minutes. So that's all that was left, and I let it drain for 5 minutes just to prove to you guys that it got most of it out. During that 5 minutes, I was able to file down the square parts of the rounded edges, and I was able to get a socket on there, so that's nice. I'll go ahead and clean this mess up, and then I'll put a little thread sealant on that drain plug, and we'll put it back together, measure our oil, and fill it back up. Like I said, we'll have to measure because I don't know how much oil this engine takes. And I want to mention this too. Make sure, if you're going to measure it like this, make sure that your dipstick reads full before you drain it out. You know what I mean? Because then if it reads full and you measure it, you know it's right. Versus if it's on E or something like that and you fill it back up and then you don't know how much you need to add and all this type of stuff. So, and I want to mention another cool thing about this fluid extractor is it has a little funnel. Let me show you. It's got like a tapered edge where you can just pour it upside down and empty it really easily without making a big mess too. I'll show you that when I begin to pour it out. Okay. 1 quart. Let me go empty this out. I'll be right back to fill it the rest of the way. So we measured 48 ounces out, and then we'll put 48 ounces back in. So I let all the oil drain down, and I waited for a few minutes to let it get settled in there and out of the tube. Let's check the level and see how we did. Not sure if you guys can see that, but it's just about perfect. Right there it's not, because that was the bottom of the drain tube, but if you look at the back side, you can see the dry right above the hole. We know we're good to go. Isn't the fluid extractor awesome? I love that thing, especially for removing power steering fluid from a reservoir and filling it. If you periodically do that to keep it changed out, and for doing, you can bleed brakes by yourself too, which is really nice. You don't have to have somebody sitting there pumping the brake pedal and all that type of stuff. You can just connect the fluid extractor, open the valve, open the reservoir, and turn it on, and it sucks all the old out, and you can pour new in while it's sucking the old out. It's really nice. Hope you guys got something out of that. I also wanted to mention they do have a manual version, like a manual pump version of the fluid extractor if you don't have an air compressor. If you do have an air compressor, I would recommend at least like a 10-gallon one, because this thing doesn't use a lot of air, but it uses enough to where you probably could not get by with like a little hot dog air compressor or something that probably does not have the output. Unless you could probably get by with it if you were willing to, first off, listen to it run the entire time you're doing it, and second off, you probably have to use it for a little while, then let it pump back up, then use it for a little while and pump back up. But if you're going to be continuously using it, like if you're sucking like for rear end, like gear oil and stuff like that, it's a lot thicker fluid, it's higher viscosity, and it takes a little bit more time for the fluid extractor to actually pull the fluid out. The thinner it is, the faster it pulls it out. The thicker it is, the slower. So if you're doing stuff like that, you need at least a 10-gallon or larger air compressor, or like a higher output. But yeah, I'll link the pneumatic one that I have, and I'll link the manual one in my description so you guys can take a look at it. The brand I have is Mighty Vac. I read online that was the best one you could get, but I've seen them at Harbor Freight and stuff like that. Normally, I buy a lot of Harbor Freight tools, but if it's something that I'm using a lot, like I use this thing all the time, almost weekly, I tend to spend more on a better quality tool. But that's not to knock Harbor Freight's quality. They have great quality tools too. Just stuff like this with seals and all that, I don't know, I spring for better quality. But anyways, hope you guys got something out of it. I really appreciate you guys watching it. I almost said commenting, but I appreciate you guys watching it. Please comment, subscribe, like it if you do like it. Don't dislike it, that's mean. Just kidding, I don't care one way or the other. But I'll see you guys in the next one.